This is AnaVoir, AnaFrills. Lerix talking to AnaFrills, AnaVoir. You may know her by many different names. She's the woman that Destiny used to call his stalker. A counselor woman on Twitch who began talking to Destiny and got into a little bit of a romantic, sexual behind-the-scenes relationship with him that blew up into big public fights and her, quote-unquote, looping, screaming, "Why did you call me Prince?" Oh, everyone must know some of the story at some point. You'll know who she is. But she decided she's big on rape and abuse stories. Very big, very opinionated on them. So we're going to just watch her talk with Lerix about GeorgeNotFound and Caitibugzz. So,
what'd you disagree about?
Okay, so I made a list of points that I'm going to go over, if that's okay.
Cool.
I'll start with number one. So, well, actually, first of all, I'll just state where I'm coming from, basically, and it's that I'm not really on either one side, but I was kind of disturbed by like the lack of empathy that I see everyone, or well, not everyone, but a lot of people showing towards Katie. And there was some things in your stream, in your video, that I found to be like supportive of rape myths. And we'll get into that a little later.
Oh, Lerix already grinning to himself. He knows this is going to be great. Oh, I'm supporting rape myths, am I? Okay, well, tell me all about that, Anna.
So that I found to be kind of problematic and just concerning. And also supportive of like attitudes that could end up promoting a culture of like normalizing sexual assault. But anyway, like I said, I'll get into that then. But my first point was that,
yeah, look at him. He's just writing down the fucking buzzwords so that he can go back and what do you mean when I said that? What do you mean by me doing that? What can you explain that to me, Anna? And then he just gets to fucking fight this sick bastard.
One of the things that you mentioned that you think was a malicious lie on Caitibugz's part is that she says like she calls herself freshly 18 or whatever when she was like 6 months into being 18, right?
Yeah.
That one of the things. Okay. Well, I was thinking, to me, it sounded more like she was making a statement. She was making like a feeling statement rather than like a statement of fact. I don't know. Don't you think that it's possible that she felt that way?
She felt freshly 18?
Yeah. Do you think that's possible? That
sure.
She still felt like newly 18 years old?
Sure. I guess then what I would ask, though, is like, how do you justify her then explaining, oh, wait, it was a typo in my script. I didn't actually mean to say I was freshly 18. I meant to say I was freshly graduated out of high school. I guess how would you justify that?
Yeah, I think that probably is a lie on her part.
Yeah.
That second part anyway. I feel like she might have a habit. I think she might have a habit of trying to. Well, I shouldn't say that, actually. I was going to say that to me, it felt like, oh my gosh, people are coming at me. I'm going to... Shit, I'm sorry.
You're good.
Sorry, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
Thank you for the raid.
Oh, she got raided.
Okay.
Oh, you're good. You're good. Keep going.
Okay. So I was thinking that, yeah, she tried to cover that up with a lie, I think. I think that's what she did.
Okay.
But I do still think that it's possible that she really did feel like she was still newly 18 years old. And I don't agree that there's enough evidence there to claim that it was done maliciously in order to defame George as a predator. I don't think.
Okay, cool. So off bat, I'm saying, yeah, this is possible.
Oh, look at their DMs. I see you know about my drama with Dest, haha. We're good friends now, though, at least, lol.
Possible she could have felt that way, that she was just felt freshly 18. But I guess the reason why I'm much more skeptical and I make the case that she is malicious is because we're dealing with someone who, like, as we both can already admit, that she's a liar. And she's showing that she's willing to lie in this situation to make George seem worse and to make herself look better. And this is just one of the lies. We could go over some other ones. So it makes me a lot more skeptical to think that it was just an I feel statement rather than she genuinely was just trying to lie to make George look more predatory and try to infantilize herself more for a point.
Right. So yeah, that's of course where I'm going to disagree again, because and then going into my next point, which is related. I think that it's very likely that an 18-year-old would feel that a 26-year-old is a lot older than them. I mean, I remember when I was 18, I thought 26 was old as shit.
Yeah, no, that's fair, but I mean, she was trying to make the case to imply he's a predator, right? Like, we could both admit that, or no?
I think so. Yeah, I think she was doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, and do you think George would be
genuinely believes it?
Fair that she genuinely believes it. Yeah, she probably does too. I agree with that her feelings probably are valid that she believes that. But I mean, do you think, well, just off the bat, do you think George is a predator for doing what he did?
If Edna was like retarded, she could hammer him on this. Oh, that's such a bad... he probably shouldn't concede that, no? Doesn't that kind of take away the malicious part?
I don't believe from what we've seen so far that that predator would be a correct thing to label him as. No, I don't.
Okay. And so it's just like established that she's trying to frame him out to seem like a predator, and she's using very tailored phrases and words to try to make him out to seem like that, which comes across as very, I don't know, disingenuous and an outright lying in other cases.
Disingenuous, but even if she really feels that way? Like, even if she really feels like, wow, I was 18 and he's 26, this seems wrong or something.
In some cases, yeah, because I'm pretty convinced that she knew what she was doing when she lied about certain things. Like, I'm convinced that she knew she was lying about the freshly 18 thing. That she knew she was lying when she said George pressured her to drink alcohol and offered to play the drinking games. Like, I'm convinced that she did know she was lying there. Do you think otherwise?
I think that was one of the areas where I think she did lie. Yeah, that was another area where I think she did lie. Indeed. Yeah, because didn't she claim that George pressured them into the drinking game, but really it turned out that
it was her and her
friends were asking, or her friends were asking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was a lie.
Okay, cool. So, I mean, I guess just establishing we're dealing with like a liar on our hands here. Like, and she's willing to show that she will lie to make George seem more predatory and to make her story look better. I guess, how do you justify all of those lies?
Well, I'll get to that. I just want to move on.
I'll get to that. No, what?
To my other point.
Yeah,
sorry.
Cool.
Okay.
So.
Fine. Okay.
The other point about.
Yeah, I believe he's playing 4D chess right now. He's ready.
Oh, what I didn't like about in your video was also that you came off as kind of dismissive towards the whole age gap thing. And actually, I think it's pretty significant, like an 8-year age gap involving a teenager. I think that is actually significant. And I do think that it was justified for Katie to bring that up as a factor that was involved here. Not that it means George is a predator or anything, but I mean, so, okay, for example, there's a lot of research on adolescent teenage girls and older male relationships. And by adolescent girls, I mean the ages of 13 to 18 years old. And Katie was 18 years old at the time. And so there.
Oh, I was listening to Smith talk to fucking Big Tech the other day. And Big Tech was saying basically that, if we had a rigorous societal top-down approach, we could stamp out pedophilia by simply having good families, like old traditional families, basically is what he was saying. But it's like old traditional families was like a 17-year-old marrying a 12-year-old. And shit like that, right? Like, it was all pedophilia all the way down.
There's a lot of increased sexual risk behaviors that are positively correlated with these age gap relationships amongst where there's a younger girl and older guy. So I think that
I've heard that
it's still something that matters. And again, you kind of dismissed it like it didn't matter at all.
Yeah, I could see how I probably came across as dismissive, but I mean, I did still clarify in that video that I could still say, like, yeah, at worst you could call this creepy and say that's, I think my exact phrasing was that if I was a father, I wouldn't want my 18-year-old daughter hooking up with a 26-year-old guy. You know what I mean?
Right.
But still, what I was mainly pushing back on, and the point of all that was to say that she's trying to use this to make him out to be a predator, and this is nowhere near enough evidence to show that he's a predator over a 26 and 18 age gap, you know? That was like my point.
How do you think she could have still talked about this without, in a way that you would be happy with? How could she have talked about this in a way that you would have been satisfied with?
I guess, not telling fabrications or lies as explained in her story. I think she can say, I actually don't know. I don't know if I would be comfortable with her actually releasing this publicly at all.
Yeah.
I don't know if this ever, do you think this ever would be justified to release this publicly? I don't know if ever saying this publicly is justified.
I think she does have a right to talk about this publicly, but I think she went too far in a lot of instances, especially I think calling it an assault was too far. I should clarify that at first I did think this was sexual assault, because at first I misunderstood and thought that George had grabbed her breast, but then I realized it wasn't that. It was just her stomach. That's correct, right?
No.
It was just her stomach that he touched?
No, it was her tits too.
Oh.
Yeah. So they were
no.
flirting, they were cuddling, they were spooning,
yes.
Then he touched the stomach, and then he slowly kept moving up.
Oh, okay. So then, never mind. I will still call this an alleged essay then.
An alleged essay? Well, wouldn't everything be an alleged essay? What do you mean?
Yeah, I'm still going to call it alleged, because I don't feel comfortable calling it an essay. I feel comfortable calling it an alleged essay. Yeah.
So,
because it's very muddy.
What would it is? I guess so in my opinion, I don't have any problem with these actions. So if I'm flirting with a girl, if then I continue that and I see that she's positively reciprocating the whole time, Katie even admits that she had initiated physical contact back. So I move on flirting, sitting next to her, to then cuddling, to then spooning, to then making physical contact underneath her stomach, touching her skin, and then continually seeing that she's positively reciprocating, and then slowly move up and touching her tits. I feel like that's kind of everything you can expect from a guy to do.
I was under the impression that she didn't positively reciprocate, but she was spooning with him and cuddling with him.
Wouldn't spooning and cuddling with him be positively reciprocating?
I disagree with that. I think with someone, and actually this is one of my other points, but I think with someone that you're unfamiliar with, it's very risky to just assume that cuddling or spooning means that we're going to get sexual.
Well, yes, it is. That's why you would take a slow escalation and wait for either non-verbal or verbal feedback, right? So, like, when he's tickling her and making her lose at the game, and she's laughing and smiling at him, and oh, isn't this so cute and fun? We're on the couch at a VidCon party, all this shit, you know. When that's happening, yeah, that's a sign to take it a little bit further. So he takes it a little bit further. Maybe moves his hands up a bit. She doesn't seem to have an issue with it. Goes for her tits. Okay, she's got a problem. She's not so comfortable with that. She gets up. She's not okay with it. Okay, cool. No problem. That's totally fine. That's not a sexual assault.
I think it's very risky to assume that. And I think you really should try asking before making a move like that, because it's very possible that it could make someone uncomfortable and it could violate their boundaries.
Maybe I could hear you out for a cuddling. I guess you really lose me on the spooning part, though.
I get that spooning seems pretty sexual. Yeah, it's just that it's really important.
Obviously, it is. How are you getting into?
We don't assume things. And
I hear you. Here, let me just explain. I don't want to go into cringe graphic detail, but I mean spooning. What do you think when you spooning? Like you got the girl's ass against your crotch. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know how you could friendly spoon someone, you know?
I get that. It seems pretty ridiculous.
I do kind of agree that it's weird to go for a tit grab without kissing first. However, I can imagine the situation here. I can picture it so clearly. Where they're in this VidCon after party hotel room, Dreams hotel room, and they're on the sofa. It's late. There's people around, still awake, but not like, you know, pretty drunk. It's close to the end of the night. And he's sort of like, you know, they're coiled up and he's moving his hands up. They're not going to like make out in the middle of the room in front of everyone. Like, that's a bit much. But, you know, under the clothes, secret, sort of, you know, subtle. I can see that. I can picture this situation. I can picture the state of mind.
Ridiculous, I know, but I'm sure there are girls out there that think it's just friendly spooning.
What would you say the odds are that Katie's one of those girls?
I don't know, but it seems like she didn't want his touch. You know? I mean, she said that she didn't want it to happen. So shouldn't we believe her?
So
this is such a stupid level of engagement. I don't hate women. Why would I hate women? You know, guys, I've been thinking a lot since Jay still got banned. We shouldn't think badly of people just because of who they are. There's no reason to think badly of someone just because of who they are, because of the circumstances of their birth. I've been thinking about this a lot in the last 12 hours. I've been really reflecting on my actions. I've been really thinking about it. Listen, look, there's just smart people have been telling me as well, like, oh, this is gonna take ages to upload. Why was JStalk banned? For harassment, apparently. For harassment. I hate psychology, people. I hate no, this isn't a psychologist, but this is a woman problem. I don't know how to say it. Well, she didn't want it, so she said she didn't want it. So it's rape.
But when you make objectively bad jokes that could also be misinterpreted as racist, and you do it on numerous occasions, not just once.
He's Indian? Oh, I
do believe you should be called out for that. Now, we can sit here and just say, oh, but Speed is 17 though. I was 17 5 years ago. Stop. It's not like he's 11. The guy is turning 18 in 1 month. I know exactly what it's like to be 17, and that's not how I acted when someone put a camera on my face and there was an Asian guy standing next to me. Or even, if he wasn't already one of the most famous people to ever touch Earth, I would understand being intentionally provocative for clout. But when you...
Thank you, King of Nothing. Thank you. Wise words. Wise words. Thank you.
So, no, I just don't believe people off of nothing, though. So what I saw is that she even released text messages herself saying, she texted her friends saying, in the moment I was chilling, but now thinking back on it. Yeah. So that's confirmation from her herself saying, in the moment I was chilling and I was like having a good time going along with it. But now waking up the next day, talking to her friends, she's now saying,
wait, I've got another one as well. I've got another one. This one might be ready to go too.
And as a fan of comedy, I at the very least have to acknowledge the fact that that was an attempt at humor.
I love that one. As a fan of comedy, I have to acknowledge that that was an attempt at humor. Stuffy fucking nerd, dude. This kid's dad needed to whip the fucking home.
And as a fan of comedy, I at the very least have to acknowledge the fact that that was an attempt at humor. And as a fan of comedy, I at the very least have to acknowledge the fact that
this guy fucking sucks. He's actually the fucking worst. I genuinely... I got set off watching some of this guy's videos last night. I was just like, man, this guy is makes me want to just reach through the fucking screen. Reach through the fucking screen and grab something. Oh, man. I've got so many I don't think you understand how many King of Nothing clips I have on my computer right now.
Cool.
I don't think so, no. Oh, crap, sorry. Okay. I was trying to go back and look at your video.
Dude, King of Nothing just copied a formula to rig the algorithm and had the gayest editing of all. Yeah, so much of his videos are total slop. He dedicates like a 5-minute segment to each video where he just sits there and reads out how many tweets the person has. and then he'll like he'll do multiple videos on one person, and he will repeat himself. He will repeat entire sections of videos, like basically wholesale in another video, just to pad it. It's fucking crazy.
You're good. You could take time if you want.
I just wanted to quick find that text message, actually.
No, for sure. I'll look for it too.
Okay. Because I remember that also she mentioned something. Oh, yeah, here it is.
I was drunk.
There we go. Got it muted.
Yeah, I got it. So she says, maybe, bro, I have no clue. Like in the moment I was chilling, but thinking back on it, I'm sweating a little bit like, damn.
Yes. Yeah. This, to me, I'm going to be honest, like, to me, this kind of reads as someone who's confused, honestly. And someone who, and
I think I see why Boblack's blocked you. It's funny. Boblack has me muted on Twitter. He announced he was muting me on Twitter. He told me. He says, I'm muting you. He goes, I'm muting you. I don't want to see your tweets anymore. I'm muting you on Twitter. So I'm like, okay. And I see, I see on YouTube chat, on Lerix's screen, that he's in chat. I look at my chat, and he's not there. So I'm like, bro, you blocked my YouTube channel? Are you good? What level of upset do I have to be caught? What was I saying in a fucking YouTube chat that made you need to block me? That just seems fucking crazy. I don't know what I could possibly have been saying in a fucking YouTube text chat message. Mr. Girl owned this little ninja? Oh, no, now I'm going to have to part of that clip. And I know I've got that one.
All right.
Oh my God.
Boblax, explain, and then we're gonna go into interjections because
Okay.
Moth and Glink want to get in, and I want to give them a
I'll
chance.
say two more. I'll say two more things, and then I'll give Moth and Blink time because I'm respectful.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
This whole conversation is so respectful
Oh
of
my
you.
God! Mute that motherfucker! Mute that motherfucker!
All right.
Oh my God.
Boblax.
I saw the Null and Boblax thing. But to be honest, I kind of agreed with Boblax a little bit. It did kind of seem like Null was just like raging at Boblax for not hating trans people enough. Like, it's how it came off. I didn't read the full thing though. It's like, isn't Boblax have like trans family or some shit? So I don't really expect them to be super epic and base gender critical. Does Boblax even go after other people for being transphobic? I don't think so, right? I've never seen that. I don't think Boblax does just follow the money trail though, because otherwise he wouldn't be streaming fucking Pikmin to 80 people every night, would he?
yeah, someone who's confused. Do you think it's possible she was feeling confused?
I think it's possible that
now
she
back
was
to Lerix.
confused at the time she sent this text message, but I mean, I don't know. So I feel like you have to reach an insane high bar of evidence to say that she wasn't reciprocal this night, because what has she already admitted herself? Well, she's saying that she was chilling in the moment. She's saying that she cuddled back, that she initiated some of the touch on George as well. She did say George initiated most of it, but she initiated some of it as well. She already admitted that they were spooning together and that she was also laughing and smiling. But then her caveat was saying that, oh, well, if I was doing that, it was just because I was drunk, and that's me when I was drunk. But I feel like taking all these things together, I feel like you have to reach a huge high bar of evidence to kind of fight back against that, to say that she's just confused. She doesn't seem like confused.
I guess I don't really think it's that high bar of evidence, because I've seen this so many times with sexual assault victims, to be honest. Like, so much of this, it just rings like reminiscent of so many cases with sexual assault victims that I had counseled before because I did work so basically I worked with domestic abuse and sexual assault victims, and I was kind of like a crisis counselor, quote unquote, but I didn't have my master's at the time, so you can't really like call yourself a counselor, but it's basically what I was doing was crisis counseling. And so I worked with a lot of sexual assault victims, and many of them, honestly, they expressed similar statements like this. They expressed like, I don't know, I'm confused, like what maybe it was okay, maybe it wasn't, I don't know. This is something they sort of deal with. They have to kind of go through therapy and like iron out these feelings of self-doubt and confusion. And so that's why I'm willing to sort of give Katie the benefit of the doubt, because it does remind me of other cases that I've seen with victims who were confused. So yeah, I'm really having a hard time seeing it as malicious, to be honest.
So you're saying, well, malicious is another conversation other than here. We're trying to just figure out if she was like reciprocal in the moment. But
isn't it most important that if someone is uncomfortable with something, like she says that, you know, she didn't want him to touch her boobs, pretty much, it seems like that was the big deal. And I mean, I do understand George's perspective. I absolutely do. That, like, okay, you're cuddling, you're spooning, like things, you know, maybe I can make a move. Like I do understand that fully. But I also understand her perspective of he didn't ask at all. And I do think it's very important that we not assume. I don't know. And especially with people you don't know.
Like, so you're saying that you should, I guess,
it's not assuming though. A slow escalation, looking at, you know, being receptive to signals of lack of interest. This is not assuming. Assuming is pushing further, is going further than reasonable based on previous actions because you think there is an interest and you're making the jump. And that can be risky. But making slow escalations, slow non-verbal escalations when you're already in a situation like that is absolutely, yeah, exactly, Smith. I keep saying, I've said this a few times before, but that is an act of asking for consent. And the reciprocation, the continued engagement is the consent. If you aren't putting up any barrier, if you're, you know, if there's no reason for this person to suspect you're not into it, then yeah, you are. If you're not giving that reason off, you are consenting. Yeah. Even if it's seizing up, even if it's totally seizing up, which doesn't sound like what happened at all.
Your advice is
before you make a move sort of on someone's like sexual body parts, it might be a good idea to just ask to make sure they're okay with it. And I think that he could have maybe avoided this situation if he'd done that.
Okay, I hear you. I guess just in all of my life experience, which I mean, granted isn't much, I'm not appealing to much here, but I mean, I feel like it would be really even awkward or out of the blue to try to say that like George, after getting all of these reciprocal signs back, that he could continuously make moves on her, to then ask afterwards, or like that he needs to reach a verbal consent bar so that he can move on to touching her tits. I feel like he's gotten every nonverbal kind of consent sign you could get. She's getting up to get more alcohol. She's coming back in his arms. She's cuddling. She's spooning. She's laughing and smiling. She's having a good time. She's touching him back. They're like play fighting. They're flirting.
Yeah, I know. It's just, I really want to be careful and not go, I don't want to unintentionally like, because one of the main things that we teach in like consent education.
Well, I just say violent smokers completely retarded. I said even if it's just seizing up. I said even if you're like completely just frozen, rock solid, that's still like you're not reciprocating at that point, are you? A retard.
Is that cuddling and flirting is not consent to go further. And we, you know, this is especially like the message tends to be more towards guys because guys tend to be the ones who initiate things sexually. That's just, it tends to be that way. It's not always that way, but, and so I do want to be careful about that because on the one hand, I do totally understand where you're coming from. And like, I myself have been in situations like that and it's like, well, yeah, that's fine. Like, yep, it's a natural progression. But then at the same time, yeah, it's still important to not assume.
I hear what you're saying with assumption. I just feel like there's such a strong case against Katie here that if we're talking numbers.
It's not assumption. It's not assumption at all.
Given all of the things that she self-admitted on how she was reciprocal that night, to act as if she like wasn't reciprocating or flirting back, or that she just didn't think of any of these things as a further sign to give to George that he can continue moving, or that she's like in a bubble, as Brittany Simon would say. So like that she needs verbal consent each time. I feel like we're dealing with like a very low percentage of humans, like people.
It's possible that, you know,
I don't think that's Katie.
You don't think it is her?
No, I think that's gotta be like under 2%.
Maybe. I'm not sure of the amount, but I mean, I definitely, like I've said, I've heard many sexual assault cases where the victim was cuddling or was flirting with the guy.
Spooning even?
Yeah. And then the guy took it further and assumed that there would be sex, but usually these are like rape cases. So
well, here's the thing. I don't.
Exactly. So that would be an assumption. If you're cuddling and then go to fucking, you're making a pretty big assumption there. If you go from cuddling, sort of tickling while you're playing a game, making a bit of a game out of it, and then maybe you've got your hands just on the sides, and then maybe you move your hands up a bit, then maybe hands onto the tits. That's not assuming. That is a slow escalation. That is a slow testing it out, feeling out testing the waters, seeing how it's going. That's not assuming. That's cautious.
Penetration is obviously always going to be the most severe type.
Yeah, if George like stuck it in after like spooning, it would be like, whoa, dude, let's fucking relax. But just like he already is making skin contact. He's slowly moving up. And he's been getting reciprocal signs the whole time. She's not saying no. She's not having any body language that's reacting poorly, from my understanding of the situation. Like to act as if this is anything close to sexual assault, I think like takes away from real stories.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I understand that point of view. I really do. my whole thing was I didn't like the way you. My main thing was that I didn't like the way you sort of. You basically kind of.
So I mean, Anna even came around. I think Anna's come around on that.
Said like, well, if you're cuddling and like cuddling with a girl and stuff, yeah, you have the green light to go ahead. But I think you got to be really careful with that because especially with a girl you don't know who you.
Bro is discussing her client's rape on a Lerix stream. W confidentiality. I don't think that's not how that works. Come on now.
Just met at like a party or something, and who's drunk. That's a really big factor as well. She was drunk, and you know, it slows down faculties. It makes it can cloud your mind. And I know George was drunk too, to be fair. So
well, you can make the like opposite case on Katie too, is that you really don't think she was flirting. This was 2 nights into knowing this guy, and she's already comfortable enough spooning, cuddling with him, flirting, making physical contact back with him. You know, I don't know. Mm-hmm. It's I feel like it's, I don't know, it's pretty clear cut. And if we're talking assumptions on the small chance that she wasn't flirting and she wasn't reciprocating, in your opinion, it's such a low percentage. I feel like it's just worth completely sidelining.
I just think that it's possible that she didn't want anything sexual to happen, and she just wanted to like cuddle and spoon pretty much with the guy. That's what I think.
Fair, but I would never put.
Violent Smoker is actually trolling. You're actually trolling. It doesn't matter if she's reciprocating or not. If she's in no state, if she's not in a state of mind to be able to consent, they're both drunk. They're both drunk. You can't eat what? So all drunk sex. Anytime there's drunk sex, it's rape. Yeah, I'm just gonna. If you don't have a good answer for that question, I am just gonna time you out. I think because you're just retarded. You're trolling. You've got to be. Get on Discord. Do you have a Discord account? Discord.gg/Kuihman. Come on. Let's. This she was drunk thing is retarded. Being drunk matters when you are drunk. When you are drunk enough, when you're drunk to the point where you can't consent. It hasn't been substantiated that she's drunk to the point where she can't consent. Link, I don't think we need Discord. Discord.gg/Kuihman. I'll put it in chat. If you're like passing out drunk, if you're unconscious, if you've blacked out and losing faculties, you can't control your movement. These are like signs that someone's too drunk to consent. Having a few drinks at a party is not too drunk to consent. That's retarded. Okay, let's carry on with this. While we wait for Violent Smoker here to come. Probably play the N-word or something. I don't know. Troll.
Put the responsibility on George. Like I actually am convinced she didn't want anything sexual to happen, because when George offered her to come into the elevator to kind of go to his room and fuck and continue to kiss, I presume so. That's what his motive was. If you're asking him to come to his her to come to his hotel room, so it sounds like she didn't want anything like a high bar of sexual activity to go on 2 nights after knowing the guy. But still, I would never put the blame on George, and I would actually put the blame on her for cuddling and spooning and flirting with a guy, and not expecting any kind of like sexual activity to continue from that. Like, she has a responsibility. We should be pushing a responsibility on Katie to like speak for herself, say, hey, I don't like this, you should stop. But the problem is I don't think she didn't like it. I think all evidence shows that she was fine with it.
Well, that's a hard one, because to say that the responsibility should be on the person to say no, that's, I don't know, that's a really bad, I don't know, I feel like that's kind of a slippery slope, you know?
Well, it sounds rough to say like the girl should have fucking said no. You know, it sounds like a funny, it sounds like a funny statement, but if you're giving the signs of cuddling and spooning for over an hour, it kind of rings true. Like, yeah, you kind of do. If you're already giving this guy these many signs, you're giving him the green light. You've got to have, we should be promoting that responsibility to say, hey, if you really don't want anything sexual to go on, why the fuck are you spooning with a guy for over an hour? You know?
Right. And I do agree that we do need to teach, especially young girls, more boundaries, how to assert their boundaries, being more assertive with things like that. I do agree.
And I would even go as far to say that George isn't culpable for any blame at all. I think like if I'm teaching consent to my son, it would be exactly to do what George did. I feel like he's gotten every sign in the world, making small advancements, small steps to keep going. I feel like he did everything right that you should expect and want from a guy.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely disagree with that, because I think, again, that could lead to incidences like this where...
Oh, man, this is so... You have to teach everyone to do the absolute most insane thing possible. Ask for consent, verbal consent every fucking time. No one does this. No, act in a way that nobody else operates in. Be the one person doing this fucking thing. You have to teach people to do that. It's a very bizarre form of social interaction where you're like, hey, is it okay if I take the... Is it okay if I touch you? Is it okay if I move my hands 10 centimeters up the body? Is it okay if I move my hand onto the breast? Like, what are we asking for here? Where is Anna's line where you have to start asking for verbal consent? Yeah, exactly. They do not believe this. Anna does not agree. People always, all the time, people are touching each other without consent. And usually, hey, here's the thing. If you don't want someone to touch you, you don't have to let them touch you in like 90% of situations. The 10% being like rape. Or in almost every situation, like violent rape, you almost never have to let someone touch you. I'm not a fucking hugger. I know that may not come through on my streams. I may seem like a very, you know, soft guy. But I'm not a fucking hugger, okay? If people try and fucking hug me when they meet me and shit, I'm like, don't fucking... I like step away. I get autistic. I step away and get autistic. I'm like, don't fucking touch me. And people don't hug me because I'm like, hey, fuck off. And when people try and do it. And I'm not like I'm not an intimidating guy. Most women, well, not most women. Many women could probably beat me in a fight, let's be honest. So it's not like I've got like the physical defense here. It's not because people are afraid to attack me or afraid to push past my boundaries. That's not the issue here. It's just because I'm actually fucking saying something and like moving away. That's why it doesn't fucking happen. But women somehow don't realize that. And it's just endless. Oh, I'm just like weak. Men can just rape and kill me. And there's nothing I can ever do ever. I just have to be raped all the time. It's not fucking true. It's bizarre to me. It's bizarre. But whatever. We'll keep going.
You get an SA accusation. And
I think it's a very rare case where you get like a combination of social influences and like the Minecraft community especially, thinking that like they get sexually assaulted over like basically nothing at all, but because it gets you, I don't know, it's a little bit inflammatory, but it gets you points and it gets you like to get validation or whatever. Right. People trick themselves into thinking that they actually got sexually assaulted. I don't think that's the case.
Do you think that's common? That people trick them, or as you said, people trick themselves, to use your
like
words.
the post talk, recontextualize and everything after like talking to your friends and getting yes queened, like what is it, gaslighting into thinking that you were sexually assaulted afterwards. Yeah, I think that's I don't know if I would say common, but it definitely happens.
Yeah, I mean, even psych research, cognitive psychology research does show that memory is incredibly infallible, and our memories are actually very easily like suggestible. People can certainly influence us in those ways, so it is absolutely possible. Sure. Do you think that's maybe what happened to Katie? Or happened with Katie?
Yeah, I don't know if enough evidence to prove this, but like just personal opinion, what I assume so is like, yeah, she talked to her friends. Her friends were like, George did what to you? And already on the presumption of Dream having his own accusations at the time, they're gonna assume the worst and thinking, wait, this is Dream's best friend, GeorgeNotFound. Dream has his own accusations. George is probably just as creepy. So I think she probably got gaslighted by her friends into thinking she was assaulted.
It's possible. Actually, let me go back. I wanted to go back to because I still had some points that I wanted to go over still.
Yeah, for sure.
1 second.
Dude, whoever said like discuss.
Oh, right. So, the reason why age gap relationships are still concerning in some ways, especially when it's like a younger person, like a teenager involved in it, is because there's lower relationship power usually on the part of the younger person. Oh, and also like the power imbalance thing, not just the age gap, but like the power imbalance thing with him being a really big influencer. Do you think that it's possible that someone could feel intimidated by that person and actually feel worried that like
yes, but you have to show that they're using that intimidation in some kind of predatory way. You have to show they're using that power. Just pointing out the existence of the power gap is not enough.
What could happen if they reject that person with a lot of influence and clout?
Sure, but I assume that's your like setup question. But like, yeah, I think it's possible. Do I think it's happened? No.
Okay, so you don't think that happened to Katie at all?
No, I think Katie thought like I don't know if Katie was really that like even like had a crush on him going into this con. I think that Katie went to a party. She got invited to come up to Dream's place. She saw George. She saw that George was interested in her, and she thought that like it was flattering that a 26-year-old.
Okay, no, this is bad. This is okay. Lerix has not argued about rape enough. He's making a misstep here. He shouldn't argue that she was actually flattered. That is going to send off BPD alarm bells. 100%. You shouldn't say, "Oh, I think she was actually flattered." You need to make the more cold point, which is how was the power dynamic used? Did she have a reason to be intimidated? Did he do something that would invoke that intimidation in some way to make her act in that way?
Pretty, not to get gay, but like pretty attractive guy conventionally, and has a lot of like subscribers and a lot of like attention. Like people like George, and so she thought it was probably flattering that a guy like that was into her. So she just like I don't know, liked it and liked the attention.
It seems like she didn't really like it all that much, though. No.
Or do you feel
like that's just after the
Yeah,
fact.
see, I
Sorry, say it again?
yeah.
It seems like she didn't really like it that much, though. She didn't like that. She found out
There's
that I
a
don't know.
bad route of argument to have gone down, because now you're just literally just arguing what Katie's state of mind was.
She seems to believe that he knew that she was 18, and that really disturbed her.
Yeah, so after the fact, after what I personally believe to like be talking to her friends, yeah, sure, she didn't like it
Yeah.
after the fact, but in the moment, I feel like, yeah, that's a conversation we just had. I think there's enough to prove that she definitely did like it.
Okay. Well,
But I definitely don't think she was doing this out of like a power thing, like Harvey Weinstein to get a role, you know, like, or to like
Right.
have a good standing in the Minecraft community. I think no shot.
Right.
You know?
See, like exactly these would have been good points, but yeah, he should have gone down that because he's getting at the point there. He knows what he's trying to get at, but he just didn't quite format it in the right way.
yeah. I don't really see much evidence of that, but I
Yeah.
also
Okay,
I also disagree with
okay,
what
it's
you
all good,
consider to be
Anna
evidence of her maliciousness. So we're
clocked
probably gonna have
onto
to
it.
disagree
That's
on
fine.
that part. But
Well, we can continue
What?
going to that. I don't know if we went that into depth on that. I don't know if you have any questions related to that we could go over.
well, I am more so just I think because I had a lot of points while going through your video. There was like points that kind of all of it together encompasses like my concerns pretty much on sorry, I'm trying to like get my thoughts together.
You're good. If you're saying like you want to go point by point from what you wrote down, we can do that. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think I'd like to continue doing that if that's okay. And then we can, at the end, we could talk about.
After the debate, he said he was nervous because Anna has a master's degree. He hasn't realized how fucking retarded people with degrees are yet. Amazing. Wow. Isn't he at college? Isn't he at uni? Has he not been around university women yet? What's going on here? Why is he? I thought he was literally. Is he not at college? Bro, nothing made me hate people with degrees quicker than being at fucking uni. He's clearly upper middle class, but also, well, I don't know. I wouldn't say that, but Turkey Tom dropped that a few years ago.
Like the malice versus like not.
No, you got it. Yeah, sure.
Potentially not malice. Okay. So I also found it to be kind of suspicious that George and his friends did play those drinking games with underage teens in the first place. And I noticed in your video, it seemed like you kind of dismissed that as well.
Suspicious that George was playing drinking games with people who were 18 in the first place?
Yeah, underage, like under the age of 21.
I guess so. That was probably the most irresponsible thing they did do, but I personally don't really care in George's culture. Like if I was giving advice to him, if he was my friend, I would say, dude, what the fuck are you doing? You got to make sure that who you're drinking with, you got to make sure that they're like above age. It just is like good advice. But do I think it's a big bar to like show that he should be accountable for? No, because the guys from UK, isn't the drinking age, what's the drinking age in UK? Is it 18?
I think it might be 18.
Yeah, and also based off of his information, I don't know if this is true or not, but it's just he said, she said, he thought she was 21 because they were already drinking. And also, yeah.
Right. Well, that's good then that he thought that. That points to him at least.
Yeah, but even on the assumption that he didn't think that, would you think it's like a huge big deal to pin on him?
I don't think it's like a huge big deal, but I would say it's a red flag, a bit of a red flag. Willingness to drink with like underage teens and stuff, I would think is a little bit of a red flag.
Okay, even Anna's fucking up this argument. I wouldn't say it's like it's not about like willingness to drink with teenagers. It's like a sign that there's something that George has over them. There's something in that interaction that George has access to in a way that they don't. It's something he could be using over them. So that I don't even think it's about a willingness to drink around 18 and 19-year-olds. I don't think that's a red flag. If you're at a party, like even like family events, there'll be 16, 17, 15, like maybe even you might be around people at that age drinking. Obviously at a social event, it's a bit different because obviously there's it's a different context, clearly. But over 18, like, sure, but we're acting on the assumption that he did know she was 18. Like, is it really even I don't think it's a big deal at all, really. There's so many situations where you could end up drinking around 18-year-olds, especially, I mean, he's from the UK. If you go to a pub, you're drinking around 18-year-olds here, so.
Sure. A little red flag, I guess I'll give you that. But yeah, I'll give you that. It's a little red flag.
I was also going to say that, yeah, I did agree that, my next point was something we already kind of talked about, that it seems like Katie did lie about who wanted to start the drinking games. And my point to this was not so much that I don't see this as further evidence of her maliciousness, but I see it as more, again, from my perspective of having...
George's cultural bubble says drinking age is 18. Katie also said she spends most of her time in the UK, so drinking wasn't a big deal. Well, there you go then.
SA survivors and stuff. One of the things that
So it wasn't
is
even really a
not
power
uncommon
issue.
that you see is that they might lie about their substance use out of fear that they'll be blamed or like not believed. And that was kind of the sense that I got from Katie more so about her lying about that. It's not so much that like, oh, I'm going to try and maliciously frame George as like this predator, but rather like she was like probably more so feeling fear that she would be blamed or not believed because it was them who wanted to drink. And also being under
If you have to lie to make your story believable, you shouldn't bring it out.
rage and stuff.
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely possible. I think that's the same reason why Katie, even though she was sitting on the right information, that text she put out wasn't actually from George's friend. It was from another girl. I think for the same reason she didn't correct the record there was because she thought, oh, fuck, if people see that I got something wrong, they're going to discredit and disbelieve my whole story even more. But regardless of that, I still think she should be culpable and held accountable for that.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I also was wondering, why did you believe her friend when her friend had said something like, oh, we didn't drink at all, we didn't drink at all? It seemed kind of suspicious to me, I guess. I don't know. Maybe that was just...
So I didn't make an absolute statement there. I said, and even and I even said, I think I said, even her friend came out with a different story saying that they didn't drink. So it was more just bringing up like, hold on, what's even going on? Your best friend has a different story that doesn't even corroborate yours. This seems messy. It's like another point to show how messy this is, you know?
Right. I agree. This is very messy. Yeah. Okay. Also, another point that I wanted to make about the cuddling, flirting thing is that, so part of another reason that you believe this to be, I think you believe this to be her to be malicious is that she omitted the cuddling and flirting part. And she basically said, oh, it was out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So that's correct, right? You consider that to be malicious as well?
Yeah.
Okay. And my first thing was, well, that's weird because, I mean, couldn't it have been another situation where she omitted those parts because, again, out of fear of like not being believed and out of fear of being blamed?
Yes,
like,
true.
Like being blamed, like, well, you were cuddling with him, so what did you think was going to happen, kind of thing.
True. In a vacuum and off of like based on one example, that is true. And I get that it could have been possible, like that's her motivations. The reason I'm making the case that she's malicious though is because this isn't just a one-off. It's like all of these different things combined with another that shows she's dishonestly painting this story. And also, like, I don't know if you saw it when she quote tweeted GeorgeNotFound's response, like heavy going in on him saying, you're a fucking coward. I've been waiting so long to say this. You're a fucking loser. It's like, I think taking all these different pieces together and putting it together, I think it makes a very strong case to show that she operated in malice for a certain bit of the story. I see what you're saying though. I can understand that perspective, but I feel like there's a bigger, stronger case to show that she acted in malice for parts of this.
I feel like that aspect, her going in on him, I don't know. I feel like that could be genuinely like her feeling very angry with him and feeling like he's to blame for her being blamed and her being sent tons of harassment and death threats. But I mean, I'm sure he got tons of harassment and death threats himself, of course. I'm sure they both got a lot of heat basically on them.
Yeah.
So, but I think that her anger might make sense if you think of it in this.
Oh, Violent Smoker, I see you're in chat, but not in the stream waiting room Discord VC channel. I see you're still in chat, but have not joined the stream waiting room Discord voice chat channel. What's going on? I already linked it once. It's discord.gg/Kuihman. Just the channel name you see in front of you. It's also in the description, I believe. I linked it once already. I can do it again if you really need me to. I have already. How is that a link? What do you mean? It's a fucking URL. You need the HTTP? Sorry, I didn't do the HTTPS ://. Sorry. I'm sorry, dude. Seriously, honestly, sorry, what? Is that better for you? Does that work? Does that work? Okay, is this Violent Smoker here, Portanova? Hi, Portanova. Violent Smoker, Portanova. Okay. We'll give it a moment. They've gone on deafen. Okay. Well, maybe they'll figure that out. Let's carry on.
Sense that like she feels like he basically got away with it because she clearly, I think it's pretty clear because I do think that she definitely feels like she was assaulted. I think that's pretty clear.
Oh, they've undeafened. Let's see. Hello? Portanova, Violent Smoker, hello? Nope.
What do you think about that, by the way?
Yeah, I think her feelings are probably valid. Yeah, that
like,
she was sexually assaulted.
You believe she feels that way? Yeah.
Yeah, she probably genuinely feels like she was sexually assaulted.
Yeah.
Oh, they're unmuted now. What? We might be a go. Hello.
Hello. Can you hear me now?
Hi. Yeah. What you said that she can't consent if she's drunk.
Well, yeah, right. If somebody's drunk enough, they can't consent, right?
Yeah, drunk enough. Yeah. What evidence do you have that she was so drunk that she couldn't consent?
Well, I don't know. What evidence do I have that she wasn't, right?
Why would you need the evidence for a negative? How would you get evidence for a negative? Okay, bye.
I think it seems that way too. And I also think that it's possible that it really did feel out of nowhere to her. It's very possible that, you know, she wasn't expecting him to try anything, especially, didn't she say, in front of a bunch of people? They were in front of a lot of people.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, and that it's possible that she didn't expect it, like she really did feel it would be out of nowhere. But I guess like we're really, I feel like we're stretching a lot to say that she could have felt that it was out of nowhere, because I mean, she's cuddling with him for over an hour, she's spooning with him for over an hour. Like, I don't know how this possibly could be perceived that she could genuinely feel this was out of nowhere. I feel like that's like an insane stretch. I feel like.
I don't know. It's hard to say, because I do know that it's a fact.
I'm not doing retarded conversations like that. If that's the point we're getting stuck at.
Like, from what research shows, that especially when men are have been drinking, they tend to view women as being more open to sexual activity than they actually really are. This is actually a problem. Like, so I don't know. This doesn't seem to be such a small, like such a tiny amount of people. This is genuinely something that's been researched, that a significant amount of men view women's interactions as like being more sexual when they're not, especially more sexual than they really are intending. So I don't know, but I mean, again, I do understand where you're coming from. I do get that.
Even if that is true, though, it still doesn't give a defense for how she said it was out of nowhere, unless she like got dementia and forgot the nights, you know, for drinking too much.
Yeah, I mean, again, we do have to keep in mind that she was drunk.
What's that defense there? Keep in mind that she's drunk for what? Because everybody was drunk.
I know, but it's also the fact that she may not have really been expecting any kind of sexual activity, and she was just like being flirty and cuddly and kind of just viewing it as like friendly cuddling, being flirty, not really wanting to lead to anything sexual. I don't know. I've known girls that are like this, to be honest. I've known girls that genuinely just view cuddling as like, yeah, we're just cuddling, that's it.
Okay, here's the thing. If it was just cuddling, maybe I can like, you know, give you some more concessions. But it's cuddling, spooning, and a slow progression of him making skin contact and then moving up. I feel like taking all these things combined, I feel like it kind of just sets the scene. It makes it very clear what was going on here and that she was into it, or like was fine with it at least.
Yeah, it's difficult because what she describes in one part in her first response in her video, what she describes is like this freeze response that's really, really typical of SA victims. So that like really kind of stood out to me, like, oh wow, this is like exactly what SA victims usually experience.
Well,
like,
I mean, to be fair, she says a lot of things that probably real rape and SA victims have probably experienced, saying that her outfit was stained on her for the rest of her life, and she felt so dirty that she couldn't even wash herself off. Like, it sounds like she fucking read a rape fan fiction to try to craft the story. It sounds like a little bit. A lot of these were very over-exaggerated statements. So yeah, it definitely, what she was saying definitely sounded like real rape stories, but I feel like it's like a rape appropriation almost, you know?
Right. Yeah, you mentioned that in your video. Yeah. Well, I mean, so you really don't think it's possible that there are like a decent amount of girls that might just want to cuddle and spoon and not really do anything sexual, not elevate that to any sexual level?
I think it's possible there's girls who are that naive, very low percentage, but it's, even if there are those girls who are doing that, it's Katie's fault at the end of the day. If you're a girl and you're cuddling and spooning with a guy for over an hour and you're letting him and not saying anything.
Dude, there are like, I don't know if Lerix, maybe Lerix, there's a black pill, I think, at some point where no women are actually that naive. I don't believe that. No women are actually that naive. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I think they're all lying. I know women like that exist. I think they're lying. See, Smith might be spitting here. Smith might be cooking something here. Women who want to spoon but not have sex are power freaks. That you might be spitting there. That is a Stardust move. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Beckett knows that one.
You're letting him touch your stomach, slowly move up, and you say nothing before he's about to touch your tits. That's honestly her problem. And that's like completely her fault. This is in no way George's responsibility. Like, that's what we should be promoting, is that girls need to speak up. You can't put any blame on George, in my opinion.
Yeah, I definitely disagree with that. But
which part?
The part where it's completely not his fault and that it's all on like Katie, pretty much. Because again, I still think that the one who initiates the sexual contact is the one that has the responsibility to get consent?
Well, I guess we just disagree. That's where I guess that's where your thumbnail comes in. What was it? Lerix fails to understand consent.
Yes, I do think
I think nonverbal consent was very much present here, and I think that's very much like gives George the green light. I don't think he has to ask, "Ma'am, may I please make the advancement of touching your tits, even though I'm already like, 6 inches away from it on your body, underneath your skin." I don't think he has to ask verbally. I think you could get nonverbal consent from there.
But wouldn't it be pretty harmless just to be like, "Hey, are you okay with this?"
Sure, if you're giving advice.
Are you okay with it so far?
No, it definitely is harmless, and that's what I would give as advice, just to be like ultra careful, especially in these Minecraft community scenes. You should be checking IDs, you should be asking verbal consent every time, just the way this society is in this community. But regardless, advice is much different than just saying, "Hey, is this guy actually responsible here? Is this anything close to SA?" And I just think no way this guy can be, responsible for this. I think nonverbal consent was very present.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think my last point was that when you said that another thing you found to be suspicious about Katie's behavior was that Katie went back to cuddle with George after the alleged SA, sorry, that was my quotation. What am I saying? That's not what you directly said, but you found it to be suspicious that Katie went back to cuddle with George after the incident, basically. And I think this is a moot point, to be honest, because I mean, victims stay and go back to their abusers and rapists all the time. You know how common that is?
I feel like it's honestly, I feel like it's even an insult.
Insanely common.
I feel like it's even an insult to bring that example up in this situation, based on how nothing this is. Like, I feel like this is the rape appropriation. That's the problem. Like, trying to say like this is Stockholm syndrome. Like, go back to your abuser when clearly like she was just going up to get more alcohol.
This is what Anna does in all of these conversations. I feel like, where she's like, well, some people are like this. Some people with this crazy mental illness are like this. Well, some people who have been through violent rape are like this. Like, Anna, we're talking about someone who had a non-consensual hug. Anna, we're not talking about a violent rapist. Anna, we're not talking about a kidnapping victim. Anna, stay on track here.
And sat right next to him, back and started cuddling with him again. I feel like that's like unbelievable to make that comparison.
But what you were saying is that I think your point was that if she was allegedly SA'd, why would she go back to cuddle with him? Isn't that what you were saying?
Yes, I was saying that, but that point wasn't in a vacuum. It was on top of all the other points I was making, and it's just another point to add onto the stack that makes it very suspicious that she was getting up to get more alcohol and continued cuddling back in his arms, tagging along to all my other points. So I think that's what gave it the merit.
All right. So you really don't believe what her explanation of that was, basically, that she was kind of scared to hurt his feelings or like make a scene?
Yeah, she was painting him out to be Harvey Weinstein. Like saying like she felt like, what was the exact quote? She felt like it was her responsibility or like it was her duty. She felt like she needed to just get sexually assaulted to be able to stay in these gods' presence. Like that was absurd. That's an absurd statement, especially in this situation. Do you think different?
I think that it was very hyperbolic the way she kind of described it. But I also think that it's very possible that she genuinely could have felt that way, like felt kind of scared of like rejecting him and out of fear of like making a scene sort of in front of the whole group.
Sure, but I think there's overwhelming evidence that in the moment she was chilling and afterwards she's just saying that to beef up her story more, so it goes down better with this like overall community more. Her allegation gets more accepted. I think that's probably what happened more.
I guess, but I mean, wasn't there also quite a bit of evidence of the opposite though? Because like in the text message that she showed.
First T, I might make them members only. I'm thinking about it. It may be members only for a bit and then we'll just go back to normal a little while once I feel a bit safer. But I think that might be the way forward for a little bit.
I have that up on the video. Her friend even said
I'm just so worried about it. It's just the reporting. It's the reporting is the issue. But assumedly, if someone pays, they're not going to report my shit. You know. But I'm thinking about it.
Hey, buddy, I wanted to double check with you that George didn't make you uncomfortable at all last night. I saw he was getting really touchy with you, so I just wanted to double check. I mean, doesn't that kind of show that like other people were noticing that maybe she might have been uncomfortable?
I think when I read these text messages, it tells me that like I guess someone saw that they were getting touchy. And that I guess I see what you're saying. I just don't think this is enough evidence to prove that like what Katie was uncomfortable. Like this, like a friend checking in and saying like, "Hope George didn't make you uncomfortable at all last night. He's getting really touchy with you." But I think in the scope of all the other evidence, this kind of gets drowned out, considering all the overwhelming evidence on the other side. But I get what you're saying. I mean, this definitely, if this existed in a vacuum, I would say, yeah, that's pretty suspicious that like, other people who were in the room are saying, "Hey man, are you okay? Did that make you uncomfortable last night? Is everything okay?" So I can see that if that was like the only piece of evidence we had, or there's nothing else backing up the opposing side. But I think this gets drowned out in everything else.
Okay. So basically, you really believe that there's no other explanation to her behavior. I'm done with all my points, by the way. So basically, you really believe that there can't be any other explanation for her behavior other than maliciousness and lying.
It's possible. It's definitely possible. I just think what's more likely is that she there's like a better case to show that she did act in malice and that she lied on purpose to, make George look more predatory. And he's definitely played his part in this. He's got the consequences for that, getting sexual assault allegations following him for the rest of his life,
Yeah, I know. It's yeah. I definitely feel concerned for him in that regard as well, for sure.
I feel like Lerix could fucking nail these conversations if he just knew like a few more words for things. Like, if he just used like preponderance of evidence there to convey that, instead of sort of like trying to, because he knows the idea that he's reaching for, but just doesn't have a fucking term for it. I feel like he could just absolutely fucking nail people in some of these conversations with just like a little bit more vocabulary.
I mean, yeah, she completely fucked him over. I mean, even taking away the intention side of things, right? Like, she's still, this is like, I don't know, just an unacceptable thing that you can do. Like, this is unacceptable. This can't be, I guess, just, treaded over lightly just because she's young or whatever. Like, be realistic. She shouldn't be fucking behind bars or anything,
No, definitely not. No. I mean,
He doesn't have the DGG dog.
Again, it's a really messy situation, and I wouldn't want to say that like she shouldn't have come out and talked about this, because that's not right either. But I do think that it could have been beneficial to talk about this privately amongst them. Is there any evidence that she tried to talk with George privately before coming out?
No, to everything known, she didn't.
I don't think he really knows much about the Destiny stuff. I don't think he knows a whole lot about it. It didn't seem like it anyway.
I'm pretty sure, yeah, like, no. I feel like George would have brought that up. There's been nothing showing that. But, yeah, I mean, just...
No, it doesn't impede him that much. It's just like, he's like... I just like sometimes, especially in the Brittany Simon thing, it felt like sometimes she used those opportunities to... Like, Anna isn't doing it, but Brittany Simon definitely was using those opportunities to reroute the conversation onto some different track because of the way he worded something, when the idea he was reaching for in the way he worded it would have like absolutely been like, would have been terrible for a fucking argument. He does bring it back because he's good at taking notes, but yeah, I don't
know. I feel like the overall response now of her people blaming her and like I don't know, like
Larry should be studying, teaching words and phrases like charitability and super curious.
Heavily shitting on her, heavily criticizing her. I think it's exactly like what should happen, and like that's what needs to happen first. But you said something that you felt like she was justified in coming out with her story in the first place. Can you explain your take on that a little?
I do think that she has the right to come out and talk about what happened to her. Yeah, because she was unwantedly touched, and I mean, I think that she does have the right to come out and talk about that. I think she was inappropriate in a lot of instances, obviously, like the lying portions and stuff. That was not appropriate and that was not justified. But I think that she could have done a better job of talking about this and not being so hyperbolic. And
I don't think it's being too nice. I think Lerix is being fine in terms of demeanor. I just think that, yeah, people like Brittany Simon, when he tries to reach for some concept that he doesn't quite have the words for, she'll use slight fuck ups in the wording to just like totally dishonestly basically derail everything. And it's just like, well, you're not addressing the point. You're just abusing like a small oversight in the way it was delivered.
Especially, but otherwise, I mean, yeah.
Sure. Okay. So I think I'm getting caught up on the word right. So I think we both can agree she has the right to be able to do this. But do you think it's justified?
I kind of do think it is. Yeah.
And that is because
she was touched unwantedly and against her will.
So that justifies her coming out and even fabricating and lying about George?
Oh, no, not that part. Nothing justifies lying about George. No,
okay,
no.
So you're saying in like a world if she didn't lie and she's just she should be able to tell her story. But
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, so outside of the factors of her telling lies.
Yeah, she doesn't. Nobody has a right to come out and lie about someone. Of course, I don't believe. No.
Okay, sure. I guess I could see that, but I guess that's so it's hard to think of because it's so far from what happened. Because I mean, when you think of the story, the first thing I think of is like she just told mistruths, I guess, about this. But even if she was telling her story without lying about the contents of it, justified is a weird word. I don't know how I would argue against this. I got to think about it more. But potentially she could be justified because maybe she has the rights to do so, of course. But maybe she's justified, but then she should definitely be expected to pay the consequences for people responding. Like for the same reason she's justified coming out for story, people are justified in critiquing her. I guess that would be the take.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. What was I gonna say?
I got two other points if you're wondering too. You said rape myths and normalizing sexual assaults. I don't know if you already went over that, but if you want to cover that, I'm interested there.
Part. That's right. Okay. So do you know what? So okay. Do you happen to know what like rape myths are at all?
No, I mean, no, I couldn't tell you.
Okay. So rape myths are basically like false or distorted beliefs and stereotypes about sexual assault.
Like what was she wearing or something?
Victims. Yeah, kind of like that. It involves like So like it involves victim blaming, accusing victims of being false accusers, thinking that men, can't really help themselves, things like that. Yeah, like you can't rape, you can't rape your wife, you can't rape your husband, things like that. And I do feel that you might score high on the rape myth acceptance scale.
Dude, let's fucking go.
I can send it to you. Would you like to take it?
The fucking quiz.
Let's
Hell
go.
Yeah, that sounds like great content. Let's see what I really.
Where's the? Does he do the quiz live?
Like Guinness World Records book for most rape myths. I'll try to break the record.
There you go. Okay, so I do feel like you're kind of verging on number one. Under subscale, she asked for it. Number one, if a girl is raped while she is drunk, she's at least somewhat responsible for what happened. I don't know. I feel like you were kind of verging on that one a little bit at times.
Okay, so you were drunk and then the asking for it thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I'm trying to remember now, because I was watching Turkey Tom's fucking videos about this too, so I don't want to get you guys confused. You sort of mentioned
it's easily done. Many women
that like, okay, what's your point? She was drunk, but so was everyone else. So was George. But I mean, we know that being drunk definitely doesn't excuse, like violating someone's boundaries, right? Like we can agree with that?
Yes. I guess I just disagree that he violated someone's boundaries.
Right, okay.
But I mean, both parties were drunk. I guess what's the rape myth exactly? That like the girl was what?
You could call them interchangeable. You could call them interchangeable. That's one way of putting it, I think. Okay.
That the girl is somewhat responsible when she's drunk.
Well, I guess that's void, right? Because all parties were drunk.
Not really. It doesn't really work like that. It can be, again, when these situations involve alcohol, it gets very messy and it can be difficult to tease out. But yeah, it's still not really like, it's still not her fault, basically. It's not like she sort of invited that.
Okay, sure. In a vacuum, I guess I'm thinking of all the factors already.
Right, okay.
So the reason I disagree is that the reason I think she's responsible is because if she genuinely didn't want any kind of sexual contact, if she genuinely didn't want George to like move up and touch her tits, it's not just because that she was drunk. Like that wasn't her problem. Her problem was cuddling, spooning with the guy, and giving him positive reciprocation back to give him signs to continue making those moves. That would be like her problem.
Okay.
I mean, it sounds like funny and like a meme, but like, what would you expect? Let's say like you've met a guy for 2 days. Okay, you've known him for like you've spent time with him for less than 10 hours, right?
Yeah.
It's 2 nights, saw him at the same bar or whatever, and you're cuddling and spooning with him in that short amount of time. I mean, what I feel like, what do you expect? It sounds like a funny phrase, but you're giving him the sign to like keep going.
I get that perspective. Yeah, I do get that perspective. But again, I still disagree. I still think that it's really important that we make sure we don't violate people's boundaries. And like, if I accidentally
I hate this. The whole thing is always just all about, we need to make sure we don't violate people's boundaries. No, you need to make sure you fucking hold your boundaries. You need to hold your boundaries, retard. It's not just about like, there are going to be times in life where there are small escalations or boundary crosses, and maybe it gets too close. Maybe you think you want it in one moment, and then when it actually happens, you don't want it. And you have to be able to say that, because other people can't see in your fucking head. Like I said, again, it's the same as just like hugs, right? When people try to hug you in public, I fucking hate it. Well, not in public, but like when I first meet you, like, I'm fine with like if someone I know, like I can stomach it for a longer term, friendship or relationship. But for someone I don't know, if they try and fucking hug me, it's like, don't fucking touch me. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. Step away. It's very simple. It's very easy. Women can do this too. I know they don't tell you this. Feminists don't want you to know this because they want people to get raped, so they have something to fucking complain about. But women can do that too. Crazy.
Like violated a guy's physical or sexual boundaries and like, went too far. I would feel like I should apologize to him for sure.
Anna literally makes money from people being raped. Her job relies on people getting raped. She has to keep this going.
So I guess in your
it's an industry.
Life, will you always violate someone's boundaries if you okay, here. So if I never ask a girl for verbal consent, will I always be violating a girl's boundaries?
No, not necessarily, because it would obviously depend on the girl, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Because that's kind of the point of boundaries, is that they're very personal to us. And the fact of the matter is that he didn't really know this girl, Katie. And so it's, like I've said, it's the best option is to be safe and to ask instead of taking that chance.
Risky business lying about Anna. That wasn't a lie, first of all. That's a distortion. That is a deliberate misrepresentation of facts in order to create a narrative that serves the purpose of pushing a social truth rather than an actual truth, okay? That's not a lie. But she's welcome to correct I shouldn't joke about that. But it does, listen, I don't have dislike for Anna at all. I don't have dislike for Anna. I actually don't mind Anna from the few interactions I had with her on JStalk. I don't fucking sex anyone. The fuck? Ever. Period. I always saw JStalk get deleted and laughed. Wait, what are you on about? You talking about the shit was happening in the Discord earlier? They were saying Stylo mad gloating and spicy in JStalk's Discord earlier. Because Stylo was joking about casting chaos magic to take out JStalk. And I said, Stylo legit told me he reported JStalk last night, and they took that totally seriously. And we're in their Discord. I think Stylo reported. I think Stylo did it. You can just say stuff online. You just say shit, and people are just like, "Oh yeah, that's true." Even in DGG, they, as much as they want to call themselves critical free thinkers, you actually can just say some shit online, and they just fucking believe it. Stylo was about to get digitally lit.
But I feel like just I hear what you're saying. It's just I feel like the world doesn't work this way in like 95% of cultures. Like there's got to be a very low percentage of people who actually operate this way. Where like unanimously, culturally, throughout most of the world, I'm pretty certain that if you're cuddling and spooning with a guy for over an hour, that literally is giving the consent and that is giving the sign to continue and to make a move. Like the girl like will sometimes play coy and she'll be doing moves like that because she doesn't want the guy to ask specifically, "Ma'am, may I touch your tits?" So instead, she'll give you like little signs to keep going and make movements on her because she wants you to make a move.
Right. And sometimes that absolutely does happen. Yeah, that's absolutely true and right. It's just that there's also girls that
Stylo's going to be getting a lot of burning cross gifts in his replies. Oh my god.
Don't want that. And girls that just want to cuddle or spoon, I guess.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah. I guess this is a point we're probably not going to have to agree to disagree on.
Yeah. But so the asking for it thing, I guess we already covered that. Any more rape myths? You want to go over?
So I felt like also I felt like number 19 under the subscale, it wasn't really rape. I know we're not saying that this was rape. I'm not even saying that this was necessarily sexual assault, but I'm not saying that it wasn't sexual assault. I'm just to be clear. I did feel like you were kind of verging on number 19, like in your belief system that like if a girl doesn't say no, she can't claim that it was assault or something. I felt like you were kind of verging on that one.
I guess like the problem with these, if she doesn't say no, she can't claim it's assault. No, I think the reason why she can't claim it's assault is because of, the problem is that we're having is that all these rape myths, I guess, like when they exist in a vacuum, like, yeah, it's not enough. I guess I'm taking into all the different factors of what she's doing, of what she's saying, of the signs she's giving him. And yeah, that's just a disagreement we're coming to. Cuddling, spooning for over an hour. I think that gives the nonverbal consent. And you're saying, no, you need verbal consent.
Yeah, well, especially with particularly the caveat with someone you don't know and you don't know their boundaries, because obviously, every day people are in relationships and they read each other's not.
Duke, I got it.
I felt like the least.
Looking forward thing, I guess we already covered that. Any more rape myths? You want to go over?
So I felt like also, I felt like number 19 under the subscale, it wasn't really rape. I know we're not saying that this was rape. I'm not even saying that this was necessarily sexual assault, but I'm not saying that it wasn't sexual assault. I'm just to be clear. I did feel like you were kind of verging on number 19, like in your belief system that like if a girl doesn't say no, she can't claim that it was assault or something. I felt like you were kind of verging.
That's not what's being said at all. That is not what's being said at all.
On that one.
I guess like the problem with these, if she doesn't say no, she can't claim it's assault. No, I think the reason why she can't claim it's assault is because of, the problem is that we're having is that all these rape myths, I guess, like when they exist in a vacuum.
The problem, it's not that she didn't say no. It's totally a false dichotomy between didn't say no and said yes. The thing is that she was saying yes with all of her other actions. With all of her actions were saying yes. And then she didn't say no. And she kept showing it with her actions that it was yes. So all signs are pointing to yes. It's not like she was passed out drunk. It's not like she couldn't talk. It's not like she froze up and was being like pounced on. It's just not. It's a total full dichotomy to say it's either it's either saying no or yes. No, sometimes they don't say anything, and their body language is saying yes, keep going. Yeah, I'm reciprocating.
Like, yeah, it's not enough. I guess I'm taking into all the different factors of what she's doing, of what she's saying, of the signs she's giving him. And yeah, that's just a disagreement we're coming to. Cuddling, spooning for over an hour. I think that gives the nonverbal consent, and you're saying no, you need verbal consent.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, especially with particularly the caveat with someone you don't know, and you don't know their boundaries, because obviously, you know, every day people are in relationships and they read each other's nonverbal cues and they have sex and nothing, you know, it's not rape or anything. Like, it's fine, it's normal, it happens every day.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, number 13, under the subscale, she lied. I feel like you might believe this one. Do you think you do?
What's like the fleshed out rape myth, I guess?
So a lot of times girls who say they were raped agreed to have sex, then regret it.
Well, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Do you believe that?
Yeah, I think I believe that. And that's shown by like her text messages. And then her text message the next day.
She didn't agree to have sex. She was okay with the interactions and then regretted the interactions.
Okay.
Yeah. But I guess the normalizing sexual assault.
Yeah.
Am I doing that?
But that's a broad. I assume these myths are broad myths. These are things that you generally believe about rape, not things that not individual judgments you make about a situation. If the evidence points to one of these things being true in a situation, it can still be true in that situation. It's about a broad attitude towards rape.
Audience to rape.
I think that no, I don't think you're teaching them to rape, but I think...
What the fuck is this? Where's she getting this stuff from? It's just retarded pop psych quiz bullshit, dude. It's all just slop.
That you're kind of normalizing it when you say that, like, well, she was already cuddling and spooning with him, and so that gave him the green light to go ahead. And again, I think that can be very damaging. And we should really try to normalize getting verbal consent, like enthusiastic consent, with people especially that we don't know.
Yeah, I guess I'm thinking of spooning, and I'm thinking of like all the reciprocal signs, and I feel like that is the enthusiastic consent. That's what I'm thinking of.
But then it wasn't consent to her, though.
So, this is something Brittany Simon did. I don't know if you watched this conversation I had with her. This is something
I tried to get through it.
Yeah, you couldn't get through it.
It was an attempt.
But I think the problem with like Brittany Simon was doing a lot is she was saying that, well, you know, me in my 20s, you just explained my 20s. Apparently she like platonically showers with other straight guys, or just like platonically cuddles, platonically spoons. Yeah. And sure, I still think that's a very low percentage of humanity, but sure, it's possible that there are people like that. But that's some very sex positive. Like yeah, but I feel like that's very sex positive people. She said in like the queer community or whatever, people like very open to that. Katie is not that girl. Katie has at this time had no experience. She's not that old. She doesn't seem to be sex positive. She says she's asexual. So taking all these factors together, she does not seem like the kind of girl who would be platonically cuddling or spooning. She sounds like a very immature girl sexually, that if she's spooning or cuddling with someone, I feel like that's a pretty big deal to her. Like my first time cuddling or spooning with a girl, that was like a big deal to me.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And I would just offer that up platonically to like, you know, some random girl.
I can see where you're coming from. I can definitely see where you're coming from with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Well,
it just seems like Anna's got nothing here. She just seems to have nothing. She should be folding on every point.
So I guess my last thing would be, so you still are pretty convinced that
Wait, I'm sorry. Can I ask you a question? This is just a funny question I saw in chat. Like,
oh yeah, sure.
No, say let's say like your husband comes home and he was like, Kim, you know, don't worry why I didn't come home last night. I was just platonically cuddling with this girl that I've known for like 48 hours at a bar 2 days. Like, don't worry. There was a reason why I didn't come home last night. I was just like platonically cuddling. I was spooning, platonically, friendly cuddling with this girl. Like, I mean,
I would have a very big problem with that. Yeah. That would definitely violate our relationship boundaries.
But I guess that it just comes down to like personal boundaries. Yeah, it goes back to that. So
yeah, it does. Yeah.
All right, sorry, what were you saying?
Oh, I was just gonna say, I guess you're still pretty convinced that she did all this like maliciously then.
Yeah, I think there's a strong case to show that.
All right. Well, I mean, do you think that it's better to try and avoid attributing malice to people where, you know, stupidity and immaturity and possible other things could be attributed?
In the majority,
not if they are equally. This is fucking retarded, dude. If malice is the more evidenced explanation, then why would you not go with malice? It's not just, could you conceivably, possibly imagine a world where this could possibly not be malicious, that's not the only question you're asking. What's the most evidenced conclusion? That is the question. It's like, what is it? Is it Hanlon's razor, I think? Right? That's what she's sort of referring to here. Never attribute to malice that which is adequately explained by stupidity. So adequately explained. So it has to be an adequate explanation. The explanation where you're forgiving all of these lies and motivations. Lerix's argument is, I don't even know if I'm fully on board with totally on the Katie was malicious thing. But you have to dispel the idea that Lerix has built up a situation where malice is the adequate explanation. If your stupidity explanation cannot adequately explain each decision, like why, for instance, I mean, I don't know in this, again, it's difficult because I don't even know, I would say Katie's malicious, so I don't know how to map it onto the situation because I can't just totally take Lerix's argument out of his fucking head because I don't even know that I totally believe there is malice in Katie. I think the sexual assault allegations were malicious in the sense that she's surrounded by people who were acting maliciously, who had an influence on the documents, had an influence on the script, who gave evidence to Katie that she said herself, and then came out and piled on with Katie the moment they dropped. So I see the assault allegations as malicious in nature. I just don't know that like the intent behind them coming out as a plan was to harm. But I just don't know that Katie's possibly being like used and just kind of young and dumb. Maybe like partly used, partly buying into it. I can't fully determine malice there, but I think characterizing the allegations as malicious is fine. And I think I think it's a mistake to get super hung up on debating Katie's state of mind like this, regardless of which side you're on, regardless of which side. I just don't know why you would get bogged down in this.
Majority of cases, absolutely, yeah. Like the simplest conclusion is probably like the what was it? What's the phrase? It's probably the thing that actually happened. You know?
Yeah, like off of razor or whatever.
Yeah, like I'm not like that's something Brittany Simon kept like trying to say is that she wasn't some Machiavellian like evil supervillain who was planning this out. But like no one's saying that. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that because she I don't know, she just lied along the way. She lied about George to try to make him seem more predatory than he actually is. To try to make herself look like more of a victim and better, and make him seem more predatory. And I think because the amount of time she's done this, you can make a very good case for malice in this. But case.
I thought she only lied like 2 times about 2 like minor things though.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, I mean, we could cover that. So, what she did lie about is, let me see. So she lied about being freshly 18. And then when she tried to cover it up, she said, oh, that was just a typo in my script. Well, it wasn't. She said freshly 18 multiple times. She said, oh, I just meant to say freshly graduated. Yeah, she just, I was just freshly graduating high school. It's not the case. She said multiple times. That was one. She also lied and said that the touch came out of nowhere. Completely not even mentioning cuddling and spooning. And then GeorgeNotFound, a constant recurring thing we see is that she'll say one thing, omitting the context. George will say, hold on, you didn't even mention this. And then she'll be like, okay, sure, I wasn't actually scared to breathe and like scared to move. Fine, I guess like, yeah, I was cuddling and I was spooning with the guy. But her new cope was just saying that was just because I'm drunk. So there'd like constantly be this cycle of her not mentioning details, George saying, hold on, you didn't mention this, and then her conceding and backtracking her whole allegation.
Okay. But she's never conceded. I mean, she was always accurate with the main situation, the main incident, right? She was always accurate with he touched me, unwantedly. She was accurate about that.
Well, what I just mentioned to show she wasn't accurate, because if you don't give the full context, and as important context of spooning and cuddling beforehand, I feel like that's not being accurate. If I say someone fucking just stuck it in randomly and raped me, but I don't mention the fact that like we were making out an hour beforehand, like I feel like that's like an important thing that I didn't mention.
Oh, really? Wait a minute. Really? You think that makes much of a difference, though?
Okay, I don't know about that specific example, but you get my overall point. Okay, yeah, I'm not saying just because I'm making out with someone so can just fucking bend me over and rape me. I'm not saying that.
Okay.
But you get my overall point. It's the inability to mention if you're not mentioning very important context into the story, I think that does show that you're not being truthful.
But again, you
why
really
not use
don't
me
think
getting fucked in the ass as an example?
Scared?
What the fuck?
And it was really the time going to make George out to be this predator type of thing, instead of like, I'm scared that people won't believe me or are going to blame me.
I completely get that. And if I had to take one thing to like, I guess, learn from this, is to be a little bit more cautious and to attributing intention and malice and not to go so hard in on that, because I can see that perspective. I could see other reasons why she potentially could do this. But just, I guess the disagreement comes in. I think there's a better case to show that she was acting in malice because of the continuous lies.
Right. I get that. I do get that. Yeah.
So yeah. And she wasn't lying about just irrelevant things that weren't that really big of a deal. I mean, also sitting on the fact of having the information that what she spread about George's friend wasn't even from him, And then she let George call that out and say, hold on, this wasn't even from this guy. I don't know why Katie said this. And then she went on her final thoughts stream and said, okay, guys, I'm taking accountability.
Okay, I'm going to say it. Gunter was right. Anyway.
Hold on. Taking accountability is if you actually would have came forward and corrected the story when you got the information immediately. Taking accountability isn't being called out and then taking the one option you have left and saying, guys, I'm owning up to it after someone just called you out for lying, you know?
Okay, yeah. When she, because all of those streams are like deleted now, it seems. So I didn't actually get to see all of them. I just saw like the first one.
Exactly. You could tell he tried, and he was really going for the L impression. And then like he's not like, he doesn't get like super pissy when his chat are like mocking it, but they're like he is like, oh man, I don't like it. You can tell he's not like happy they didn't like it. He wanted them to like it, but he plays it off and he can roll with it. So it's just endearing. It's just endearing.
Did she actually like apologize for lying in that stream where she claimed she was taking accountability?
So what she said, I don't know how important it is to you. I could play the clip, but what she did say is that I believe that it is a real screenshot, and that she said that she did get that information. I'm taking accountability for the fact that she got the miscommunication wrong, because that was the problem. Apparently, like one of her friends sent that text, and one of her friends miscommunicated the fact that it was George's friend and not that other girl who was in the room. So she didn't take accountability for lying. She just said, oh, it was a miscommunication. So she kind of took it out still.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I think, let's see. My last thing would be, why do you think that she did this? Like, why do you think that she came out and did this?
George.
What's your speculation?
So
I'm just curious.
she says in her streams that she recently saw Shovel. I don't know if you're familiar with the Wilbur situation, but
no, I'm not.
So Wilbur's another Minecraft YouTuber who got accused of abuse from someone else in the Minecraft community. This YouTuber called Shovel. So Shovel, I'm saying the chat clout. Okay, that, obviously I don't think that, but it's just funny. So Shovel came out. It was a big accusation in the Minecraft community. Katie came on her stream saying, "I'm only here because of Shovel. Shovel inspired me to do this, and I want to give my voice to other girls, little girls out there, to come forward with their stories." She said she wants to be the Shovel, like what Shovel was to her. She wants to be to other people, to come forward with their stories. And so I think that's what her motivations were. And also she probably saw that Shovel came forward with her story, thought, wow, she's really brave, and that, man, these people in the Minecraft community are really fucked up. I have my own story. And then she decided to like go forward with it based off of that.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, yeah, I think that actually sounds pretty reasonable. Yeah, I probably would agree with that. Yeah. I don't really know the Shovel person and Wilbur Soot, but yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds about right. I also wonder, I also think that you should consider, so I think you should just keep in mind that there's also a possibility that Katie could be someone who is a trauma survivor, and this whole incident could have re-triggered something that possibly happened to her. This is my speculation, of course, and again, just speculation, so I'm not making any accusations or any statements of fact or anything. But I think it's important to remember that a lot of times these kinds of incidents, which may seem not as severe to us, they could be triggering incidents that happened to a person in their past that were very traumatizing. It's just something to consider, that this incident with George could have been, it could have triggered her, basically. It's just, again, something to consider.
Yeah, sure. I hear you out.
I kind of didn't like it. It kind of rubbed me the wrong way when you said in your video, like, she's the furthest thing from a victim. And I was like, is she though? Or is she actually, like, is it possible that, I don't know, is it maybe possible that
well, of course, when I say she's the furthest thing from a victim, it's talking about this story right here. Obviously, I can't know if she's like experienced a rape earlier in her life, you know. But in this story, she's the furthest thing from a victim. It's such an insult to get on her soapbox. She even did a whole segment saying that, dude, she was calling out people who put out false accusations and saying, all the girls out there who make false accusations, you're the problem with the world. You hurt real women's stories, real victims like me. It was like such an eye roller.
Oh God, she said that, really?
Yeah, that was my video. Yeah, that was like the Martin Luther King segment.
Oh, okay.
I think it was, or something else. Yeah.
I don't think I got to that part. I focused on the main part with like, yeah, okay. I don't think. Oh yeah, I didn't watch the aftermath part of your video. That's what it was.
Yeah. I don't know. This situation's hilarious. But yeah.
I mean, is it really hilarious though, or is it more so sad?
It's hilarious. I don't know. On my front, I look at this and I think it's just hilarious. I don't know. I get the whole therapist like empathetic thing, and I understand like to be understanding for that side, but it's very hard to like show. And I don't think this is like even a fault on my end to like laugh at this and laugh at the things Katie has done, considering like the huge detriment she has made to another man's life over, in my opinion, literally nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that. I can see that.
Okay, there's now someone else in the stream waiting room. I don't know whether they want to be pulled in or if they've now just made friends with the other guy in the stream waiting room.
Yeah, like she is the problem with the world. Like she is the issue. I don't know.
But you know that like you know, there is like an entire area of psychology that is like dedicated to research, trying to figure out like how are we going to get people to believe women's like SA experiences and stuff. And I don't really believe that it can be simplified down to just like, oh, these few false accusers here and there. I don't really believe that to be the case. I think that's a very simplified attitude towards it. I think it's a lot more complicated than that.
No, I'm not justifying or saying that like if a girl comes out with her story, I'm never going to be like initially, oh, dude, Caitibugzz just happened last month. This girl's probably full of shit. Like, that's absurd, and that should be heavily condemned. Like, that kind of behavior, I don't know, that shouldn't happen. You know?
Right.
But still, like, to come forward with their story, I feel like you're giving advice to women. Like, I mean, how about just like, I don't know, just tell the story. Don't try to like make it overzealous. Try to fabricate it to try to seem like more like headline fuel, so that like people will more pay attention to your story. I feel like that always just backfires in the majority of cases.
It does, absolutely, and it gets more hate towards. I mean, already women who come out with accusations are treated very harshly, to put it lightly, in society. So yeah.
I mean, yeah, true, but like, yeah, still, and I think the problem is Katie. Like, Katie's part of the reason why these women are treated like harshly. This is why like this should be a huge lesson learned for her.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really see Katie's situation as a false accusation, of course, like you do. So I have to disagree with that. But I also would say, I mean, it's always been the case that women who come forward, I mean, even for example, in like, we have the statistics on how so many women who come forward and even report their essays to the police, so many of them are labeled as it's labeled as unfounded. And there's research on this that like the police even themselves are really unjustified in labeling a lot of these cases as unfounded. So like, it's even an issue with reporting essays. So I think it's just like such a widespread issue that I don't know if people like Katie necessarily contribute to it, because this has just been the case for so long.
Wait,
and
you genuinely think that way, especially this case with Katie, where this was a huge online spectacle where everybody was chiming in and giving their thoughts. You really would say that you don't think Katie hurts other victims coming forward with their stories by putting doubt into people's minds to doubt other women coming forward? You really don't think so?
Well, I'm not convinced of it, basically. I'm not completely convinced of it.
Well,
because I still see Katie as having been a potential victim, because she was a victim of unwanted touching.
Well, okay, just like culturally, how many people, like one example, I guess like Amber Heard. How many people have you heard like reference Amber Heard when some woman comes forward with her story, with like their story? You know what I mean? I feel like these cultural references that become spectacles is the worst when it comes for women coming forward with their stories, because Amber Heard just becomes a phrase. Like, this girl's a fucking Amber Heard. You know, I feel like these are the biggest problems. Stories like this.
I wouldn't say that it's the biggest problem, but I definitely think that it is a problem.
A substantial one, yeah. Maybe not the biggest, but a substantial one.
Yeah. Out of curiosity, do you know what the definition of like unwanted sexual contact is?
Unwanted sexual contact?
So, it's pretty self-explanatory.
So I don't know what definition of like sexual assault do you go by? I guess we should have probably gone over this in the beginning, but it's a little late now. But out of curiosity, how do you what definition do you go by for sexual assault?
Oh no, I'm on the hot seat. What's my definition? I don't. Sexual assault is like a very dubious word. I guess if I had to like come up with a definition on spot, let me see, Google real quick. No, but let me see. Sexual assault would be. I don't know how would I define that? I don't know. How would you define sexual assault? I feel like it's a very loose definition. It can mean many like huge different things for other people.
Is it okay if I link you something?
Go for it.
Okay. I go by this definition, the CDC's definition.
Yeah.
Under the where is it? I just clicked off of it. Under the measure of sexual violence. 1.
Okay.
Yeah. So I really like the CDC's definition system, because it labels like, rape as the top, which is unwanted penetration, of course, and then being made to penetrate someone else, then sexual coercion, then near the bottom is unwanted sexual contact. And they define it as unwanted sexual experiences involving touch but not sexual penetration, such as being kissed in a sexual way or having sexual body parts fondled, groped, or grabbed. And it's hard for me because I do feel like that definition could be applied to Katie's situation.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the main thing. Especially for dubious words such as sexual assault, I tend not to harp on the phrase or the word sexual assault, because it kind of has lost a lot of meaning, because it means such different things to so many different people. It kind of gets lost. So I just focus on the actions. And what I'm seeing from the actions of Caitibugzz and GeorgeNotFound, I don't know. I would never consider that to be a problem in my book.
Yeah, exactly. This is such an autistic way of going about things that Anna and so many other psych types do, where it's like, well, this would fall into this definition. It's like, okay, I don't care, even if it... Okay, let's say your retarded definition of rape, that's like rape. Okay, problem? I've got no issue with the action. So you can call it whatever you want. I don't think there's anything morally wrong with the action. That's a fine form of rape. Like, it falls into this definition, so it's bad. No, Ninja. No, Ninja. That's not how it works.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. I might be looping a little bit, but I'm sure people in your chat will get the reference.
Yeah, big time. But like, did this definition say? Someone brought this up. Does this definition say unwanted sexual contact? I mean, does unwanted like equal non-consensual?
Yes,
Like,
unwanted meaning non-consensual. So
gotcha.
generally,
Okay, so
when yeah, see, this is kind of the part where we differ and in our disagreement. Whereas you kind of think that like, you know, there was consent that was given, and I am kind of the more. I'm on the side of more like, well, it was still unwanted, so it can't be consent because it was unwanted. That's sort of where I'm leaning towards. So yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned something earlier, something about like unfounded or unsubstantiated allegations. So I want to ask you just like your overall take. Do you think unfounded or unsubstantiated allegations should be like believed and people should get consequences based off of that?
So it's very difficult to say because so many sexual assault allegations that are made, they do get labeled as unfounded and unsubstantiated. And so much research has been done on the police mishandling of sexual assault cases.
God.
And it's been found that so many of these cases that are labeled as unfounded or false are not actually false. And something definitely did happen, but it was that the woman like lied about a certain aspect of the situation, or sorry, incident, or she changed a part of her story or something, or she was drunk or on drugs at the time, things like this. So it's very difficult to say. And
yeah, in police investigations, but if there's literally zero evidence, okay,
it's very complicated because there's the whole societal rape myths that are really
no police
that
report.
impact police's judgment on these cases as well. Because so many people score significantly on like the rape myth acceptance scale and stuff in their beliefs, and so it's really difficult to untangle that.
Yeah, I guess like something I would be concerned about is like, you know, what was Katie wearing at the time or whatever? Like she said, like jean shorts or whatever, like a sweatshirt, Nike sweatshirt. Like, do you think that plays an factor there?
Did you say that that's something you wouldn't be concerned with?
No, I think that would be like a pretty like it is a kind of a good point to show what she was wearing at the time, you know?
Is it?
No, I'm fucking with you.
Oh, okay. Wait, what?
No, I'm fucking with you. No, I feel like the conversation's come to like a close, so.
Yeah.
This guy.
Yeah.
Because it has.
No, but if you have any like last comments, I appreciate it. You have any conversation?
You know, actually, you know, I think you can rape her. She's right. Dude, it's so base.
And everything.
I think I'm pretty much good. Yeah, I think yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. If you ever want to talk again in the future, just message me. Let me know.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having the conversation with me. It was nice. Yeah.
For sure. See you later.
Bye.
Oh, there we go.